Hi folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria. So a lot of you have asked me to show more videos of cutting with my falchion here. For those of you who've asked what this is, watch my previous videos. I've got several videos on this. It is a falchion, and that's F-A-L-C-H-I-O-N. And in the medieval period they do go by various other names as well, but I won't get into that now because this isn't a video about falchions as such. But as you might expect, this is a dedicated cutting sword, more or less. Yes, you could thrust with it, but just like I said in my 1796 video, you can thrust with any pointy bit of metal. This is very clearly optimised for powerful chops, not so much slicing cuts as chopping cuts, a bit like an axe essentially. And it gave me no surprises in the cutting I've done so far with it. It cuts exactly how I would expect it to. But there is something very important to say here, and that is what you're cutting makes a very big difference as to what is the optimum type of sword to use. So for example, some people would look at a pointy type of sword like this. This is an Albion, and Albion Poitiers for those of you who are interested, and this you would think doesn't cut as well as this. Well, it's all about, what's the word? Context. It depends what you're cutting, and quite simply, if we take something like a water bottle. Let's take a small water bottle. This will cut small water bottles better than this. Why is that? Well, quite simply, this has a point of balance further from the hand. Not only that, and it's not always about point of balance. Point of balance is only one measurement. It's about weight distribution, and very clearly, as you can see from the falchion here in my left hand, it has a lot of mass at the tip. Therefore, it moves relatively slowly. However, it moves with quite a lot of energy. Okay, I'm not going to go into the physics of it. Those physicists out there can get all worked up about mass and velocity and momentum and stored energy and kinetic energy and such like. But the fact of the matter is that this stores a lot of energy but moves relatively slowly. This moves quite quickly but has less mass at the tip. So, and this has some parallels with ballistics. There's some people think that a bigger bullet always hits with more force. Well, not if it's moving more slowly. Clearly a light bullet moving at very high speed can sometimes have more energy than a heavier bullet moving at lower speed. And there is a crossover in the middle there. And the way that they affect different targets is different. It's not always just a matter of a raw number of energy. It's actually a question of what happens to that target when it hits it. Now, what I have noticed pretty much straight off the bat, or straight off the falchion in this case, is that if I hit small light targets with this, it pretty much always knocks them over. It doesn't cut through them, and that is because I'm hitting a very light object with a heavy object. So what happens is, as my slow moving heavy mass hits the bottle, if we use a bottle as an example, it could be light tatami mats, or it could be a small body part or a small body rather than a big body part, but let's use bottles as an example. If I hit the small bottle with this heavy slow moving object, it pretty much a lot of the time just knocks the bottle off. It might knock it flying a long way, but it tends not to cut through it, because what you want to happen when you're cutting a water bottle, you're just using that as one example, is for the bottle to sit there, and it's essentially for the fast moving object to cut through it before it can fall over or fall off. So in actual fact, there is an optimum sword, a type of sword, for cutting water bottles, and it's actually not the sort of sword that you might choose for cutting people or horses, or you know, an axe for chopping down trees. As a completely, slightly silly but exaggerated example, imagine trying to cut water bottles with an axe. Now clearly the axe isn't going to do very, you know, with a wood chopping axe, with a tree felling axe, clearly the axe is not going to do very well, because it's a heavy slow moving object and it will just keep knocking the bottles off the stand. However, the axe is excellent at chopping down a tree. Now take a very light, nimble sword like this. This might be excellent at cutting through water bottles, but it is rubbish at chopping down trees. So, without wittering on for any longer, just to say really that there are optimum types of tool or weapon, or in this case sword, for cutting certain types of target. And it seems quite clear to me that falchions are optimised for cutting, for the large part, for cutting relatively thickly clothed or heavily clad people, whereas lighter, nimbler swords are better for fighting people who are less covered in stuff. Okay, so if you're thinking about hitting someone in a gambeson, this is going to be more effective than this. There we go, folks. Cheers. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, follow us on Facebook. You can buy t-shirts through Spreadshirt, support us on Patreon, or follow us on Pinterest. Thank you.